Episode 17, Things We Wish We Knew.
Welcome to the Visionary Variety Podcast, where we cover cool stuff like photo, video, film, books, and technology. So switch on your brain and enjoy the show.
Hey guys, welcome to the Visionary Variety Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us here today. I have here with me the guy who is cooler than Jar Jar Binks, Nathan Gunn.
Hey people, what's up?
I also have with me the guy who can break dance while taking your photo, Daniel Grove. Daniel.
Hello?
Daniel. Sorry guys, Daniel won't be joining us for this episode, sadly. He's actually off fighting against an outbreak of extra-dimensional aliens. And I am the girl who was born at a young age, Angela Brock.
That's funny. I'm sorry.
That's funny.
Hey guys, what's up? So today we're going to be talking about things we wish we knew. And I'm sure a lot of us think about like, well, what do you mean, Nate? Like things we wish we knew. Well, I'm going to be honest. There's a lot of things I didn't know starting off in a business and other areas of my life. I actually thought I knew best, but things I, like the title says, wish I would have known. And
Yeah.
I'm sure, Angela, you can relate with me that you think in the beginning when you're starting a craft or a business or something, you kind of think, you're like, oh, I got this. I got YouTube University on my side. And no worries, I got this.
Yeah.
And then as things get harder, you're like, oh, well, I actually don't know how to do this, or I don't know how to balance a checkbook, or I don't know how to draw up a contract, or I mean, silly stuff like that we let get in the way, and we let our
Yeah.
ego kind of
Yeah,
get in the
totally
way
get what you're saying.
sometimes. So before we get in this topic of things we wish we knew, let's get into some of the newsy stuff that's coming out right now. So like upcoming, we have the Solo movie. Like I'm really excited to see this, guys. But
Yeah.
sadly, I was reading a review that it's going to be the third worst Star Wars movie. Like how unpleasing
man.
is that before I go in to see it?
Yeah, that's a
Like
little
that's not
intimidating.
cool. Yeah, I mean it looks visually pleasing, and I'm like, yes. I mean, I have questions on the main actor. He really doesn't look like Harrison Ford, but Chewbacca. Hey, at least this Chewbacca looks a lot like the original Chewbacca.
At least Chewbacca's perfect. That's all that really matters
Exactly.
here.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But I'm just excited to see. I don't know, the whole reboot of Star Wars, Episode 7, 8, Rogue One, and now Solo. Regardless of people's opinion, I'm very happy with the visual. The story is a different thing, but I'm sure people at Lucasfilms are like, yes, we finally have the technology that we were wanting to do back in like the 1970s, 80s, and so on.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really carry a movie entirely on like the visuals and such, sadly. So I'm really hoping the
Yeah.
story's okay. I'm really hoping
know.
that's the main
I
thing.
know you can't really carry a franchise like that, but at least in the new reboot of everything, I'm enjoying it. Some of the storyline is, hit and
Yeah.
miss, 50-50. I like a lot of it, but there's some of it I'm like, why? Why are we going this way?
Yeah. Hopefully they did Solo right, but we'll see. Now, something that I've been looking forward to all year is coming up here soon in the middle of June, E3.
Woohoo!
And I'm very much excited because I've been a gamer for pretty much all of my life. And as far as I'm aware, Nathan, you're the same. And
Mhm.
Daniel was a gamer early on in his childhood and stuff. So I'm sure he's
I think we can just say Daniel's good at everything.
pretty much. He's pretty much has his nose into everything. So it's not
Yeah.
really much of a surprise.
No.
But yeah, I mean, I know like this year there won't be any new console news as far as I'm aware because Sony and Microsoft both have like the recent updates, the Xbox and the PlayStation. So I don't think anything major like that's going to be announced. But I am looking forward to see if there's any cool new video game showcases this year. So,
Yeah.
and it's going to be a 3-day event. So I'm looking forward to it. Going to keep up with all of that.
Yeah, this one should be interesting, definitely, because like what you were saying, as far as I know, I don't think there's any console releases. I mean,
No,
everybody
probably
rumors
not.
stuff, but I don't think there's gonna because they just came out with like the Xbox X, and I think the newest PS4. Which one's that one?
The PS4 Pro.
Yeah, so I mean, like we're still talking about those are not old systems. Like I think the Xbox X came out last year. I'm gonna believe like in November.
Something like that.
And when did
Yeah,
the
PS4 Pro around the same time.
yeah, so It's
If there's a
little
new
too
console release announcement coming up soon, I would be very majorly surprised. I
Yeah,
really
like
honestly don't think
yeah,
it's going to
yeah.
happen.
I mean, everybody loves new stuff, and everybody is all cool for like the yearly updates of stuff. But a new console, like they like at least from Microsoft, they released the S and then the X. Like kind of,
Yeah, that's insane.
I don't know how close they were, but it felt like in the same year almost.
Yeah, very close.
Yeah, the X, isn't the PS4 Pro the gold one, or is it just a model?
I think it's just the model. No, the gold one was just some special PS4 that was
Yeah,
limited edition.
It
Nothing
looks
too
kind of
fancy
tacky.
with that. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of gold myself.
It looks
so
a
I'm
little
like,
gaudy.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't
I'm
know.
not a fan.
So yeah, no,
But
I'm really
anyways.
looking forward to E3. It's too bad we can't attend that event. That would be awesome, but you know,
That would be a dream come true because my mind will just be blown and full of video games for a whole weekend. So there's no downside to that.
I think our brains would just explode. I think if me, you, and Daniel were there, we would just go, "What in the world?"
Oh man, that would be such a fun road trip. You know, I'll be videotaping all of that, trying to make a video
Yeah,
out of it.
that would be a lot of fun.
That would be so much fun.
I think E3 and Comic Cons are kind of like the what? No, when I say Comic Cons, I'm talking about like the big ones like San Diego and all that fun stuff.
Hmm.
Because like you have the unlimited costumes and stuff. Not so much like the local Comic Con. I'm talking about like the WoW. Like
It's
costs
the best
like
people
$300.
watching you will ever experience in your life.
Exactly. It's kind of you're okay to be weird. You know, you're not gonna get in trouble for watching people walk by.
Yeah, the main thing is just make sure that you use soap and shampoo the day before and you're good.
Ew.
I'm just saying, sometimes there's a
That's very
problem at these
true.
conventions where people stink.
Yeah, Daniel and I have done a few cosplay events, and they're like the first day we were there, it was all it was awesome. And I think the second day I was like, "Man, do you smell that?" And he's like, "Yeah." I don't know, like it was I think one of the first or second ones we did. I was like, "Man, that smells like straight BO." And he's like, and so we left that section. I don't know, like, he may not recall that, but I definitely do. I was like, "Woo, that smells." But it's just part of the territory. Smelly people in costumes.
It's a stereotype that needs to go away. So I'm like, thank the Lord for the people who have started to run booths near the entrance where they sell like Axe body sprays and other stuff like that because they are a godsend.
Yeah,
They really
Daniel
are.
and I attended PAX this January, and I think it was 27 degrees outside. So there was no BO, but everybody's very cold.
Yeah.
And so it was different, going from Comic Cons that are like really hot and sweaty to freezing. I think Daniel and I were outside. Yeah, we were outside, and he was doing a photo shoot, and some of the people actually were shivering in their costumes. And if you guys want to be able to see that, you can go to Daniel Grove Photo on his Instagram and see what we're talking about. But these people were like literally shaking in their body armor.
I can imagine.
And so it's 27 degrees. They have like tights and then armor on them.
I very much felt bad for all the ladies who were like wearing dresses during that weather. I could never. I would die. I'm just gonna straight up say I would probably die if I was in that situation. I do not handle the cold well at all. I'm the type of person that has to plan my cosplays around the weather. Like I'm wearing a full body jumpsuit that is very well insulated. If I were to cosplay during the winter, there's no way.
I don't own a Wookiee suit, but I think that's when I'd be warm.
That's the perfect weather to cosplay
I know,
as a
exactly.
Wookiee.
Like I'm telling you, like all the cool costumes would come out if they did Comic Cons or events like that more in the wintertime.
Yeah,
but for some reason,
really
like it's
don't.
midsummer. I'm like,
Yeah,
why?
Comic Cons aren't really as successful during like the period around Thanksgiving to New Year's because people are too busy spending their money on the holidays.
No, I get it. I get why but it would be not like I'm glad that they did one of the Comic Cons here in San Antonio. Had it in January, so that was a different pace
Yeah,
of
that's different,
stuff.
definitely.
Definitely, it was weird. We're all bundled up and cold, and I'm like, "What are we doing?"
Yeah, I don't think I've ever really experienced that at any convention around my parts here.
Yeah.
That sounds a little weird.
So, well, yeah, it's different being at a Comic Con in San Antonio when it's 27 degrees. That's different. We were all bundled up, and I was like, "What are we doing? Like, this is weird." Because like we're at an event, we're all bundled up, scarves, beanies, gloves,
Yeah.
like snow boots.
I'm under the impression you guys don't have to go through that so often.
No, it's definitely out of the norm for us Texans to have a convention when it's freezing outside.
Yeah, you
So.
guys are very much out of your element. That's funny.
Very, very much so. When it's cold, like, I mean, lots of parts of Texas get cold and stuff, but for it to be like freezing to the point of everybody shivering, that happens, but it's not like, it doesn't stay around for a very long time.
Right. That's
So,
lucky for you guys.
Yeah.
Up
So,
here in Kentucky, you can get a little cold.
yeah, we're both excited about the Solo movie. and E3 coming up. So look forward to seeing those episodes in the future. Speaking of episodes, we're on multiple platforms, like including Google, iTunes, Facebook, and YouTube.
So for those of you who are listening, on our YouTube channel, we will be splicing in some visual content of my artwork as we're talking about it in this episode. So if that piques your interest, then hop on over to our YouTube channel, The Visionary Variety Podcast, and give it a watch.
So let's get into the body of this conversation. Things we wish we knew. So I'm going to go first. So my first one is quality over quantity. And for guys, I've already said I'm a full-time videographer. So I do a lot of filming at events. And I come from the live broadcast like event area, like one and done. And so when I started a business, I had the free will of recording and stopping, playing, recording, stopping, playing. And, at an event, I would go film some information. I don't know, let's say they have something on a table and I'd go film it a couple times. And so I'd be like, ooh, I like that, the way that looked. I like the way that looked. And then before I knew it, I had 5 shots of one thing.
Oh, yeah.
And basically, when it would come time for me to edit, I'd have all this extra footage of stuff that I never used, and it was actually slowing down my work time. And so
I could understand that.
Yeah, because when you think about it, each clip is just a few seconds, but that's just a few seconds that you're adding to your workflow. And so quality over quantity is kind of a loose phrase, I think, in my opinion, to quality. You give them quality work. Quantity is more personal. So I think if you can give quality quantity instead of quality over quantity, I think you're going to be successful at least as an editor. But I can tell you that it will slow you down, and so it's better just to go in, get it, and move out. I try now that for most shots now, if it's not of a subject of a person or if it's a thing, I try to get maybe 1-2 good solid shots. And if I'm not confident, then I may try to go get more shots, and that's when the quantity shows up. But you have to have the mindset of quality always. And so that's one thing, coming 3 years plus into a business is I'm realizing, man, like I said, I come from like a lot of live broadcast stuff. And so I never really practiced that. And then when I would shadow with other companies, they were kind of the same way, like I'm saying, but these are professionals that have been doing it for 5, 10, 15 years. And so they're just getting in.
They've learned how to streamline their processes over the years.
They're getting in and knocking it out. I'm getting there. I'm like, and so 5 times later, 10 times later, not so much now, but things like that's one thing I wish I knew.
Right. And I think that can be said for like people in different types of creative fields, because I'm sure photography, same thing. Kind of go through the same thing with my artwork in a way, in that sometimes I will do like a basic sketch of a figure or something and then try to clean up like all the rough sketches and make it less rough. And then sometimes I'll go back again and try to make even like that less rough and more smooth of a drawing. So streamlining your processes is definitely...
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, in a lot of ways, streamlining is basically something that you should be focused on. But then, you have people say, trial and error, quality over quantity. And they kind of, I don't know how much they, they go through each other, but there's a lot of it. A lot of people say, well, don't focus so much on quality and quantity. It's more trial and error, Nate. And I'm like, okay, well then you're not the one sitting there editing stuff that I've been doing here for 5 hours to get 2 minutes done.
I mean, you could say that's tied in together, since the trial and error, you've learn through trial and error not to take so many similar shots and stuff like that. So I think it's connected.
I know I'm sure there's some listeners that are like, well, yeah, I can see where you're going with it, Nate, but trial and error. And I agree. Like, I'm glad I went through the steps of quantity over quality and stuff like that. But there was things I wish I would have known up front that I didn't waste my time on. And I could have been moving a lot faster, been more proficient when like on a timeline, at an event. But like I said, people are going to agree to disagree or vice versa, that trial and error is how you understand what quality and quantity is. And I totally agree. I'm just saying things I wish I knew.
Yeah, I feel the same way definitely in my field, because I've been drawing ever since... I don't even know. Since I could hold a pencil or something, I know definitely by age 6, I was doodling all in my school workbooks every day. So I was definitely well into drawing by then. And I'm 25 now, so that's a lot of years of drawing that I've done. And of course, I could say there's stuff I wish I knew a lot sooner, but since I've been drawing since elementary school, you can't really instill a lot of lessons in an elementary school kid. By that point, you're just drawing for fun, not trying to take it too seriously. But definitely by like middle school age, there's some stuff I wish I'd gotten into sooner that I didn't get into by like middle of high school, end of high school.
Yeah.
And the first thing, I think, would be to put more thought into subject matter of a drawing instead of relying on like my technical abilities. And I'll try to elaborate more on that here. There have been a lot of times where worked on a drawing for hours trying to perfect like all of the details, the technical aspects of a drawing. Really, that's by that I mean just your skills and making something look realistic, or how much detail you put into it, essentially. But after putting in a lot of hours into a drawing, and even though it looked good, sometimes it would just be so boring because the subject matter is just so bland, like just a person just like, smiling and looking at the viewer through the paper, and it's just nothing fantastic about it, honestly. And it's not really something I would think that people would want up on their wall, which is kind of how I approach artwork nowadays. I try to imagine, like, what would I want on my wall? What kind of artwork do I gravitate to? What kind of subject matter do I find interesting to look at? And I think that is something that I try to put first and foremost in most of my art pieces that I make nowadays. I think the subject matter is way more important than how technically impressive a drawing is to me now.
Yeah, I'm going to touch note back on when you said you've been doing art since you were, I don't know, really, really young. And what's funny is most people are like, oh, well, you've been doing, like, I'll pick on myself. People have been like, oh, you've been doing videos since you were 12. Oh, you should know how to do blah. And I'm like, no, wait, hold on. I'm still learning. I didn't go to college for a lot of this. And so that's why people joke YouTube University, because YouTube helps so much. And back to trial and error. That's literally like things we wish we knew. But there's a lot of things that I wish I knew, but I'm thankful I went through because, I'm at the point I'm in now.
Failure is the best teacher, and I totally believe that completely. I mean, it's nice if someone can, give you a warning about certain things beforehand and stuff you should look out for. But honestly, like, the experiences you go through will be the lessons that stick with you throughout your entire life. There's some stuff that I've learned that I'm glad I've learned through my own trial and error. I mean, this one thing is something that I wish I would have learned so many years before, because I would have saved myself so many hours working on pieces that I just wasn't proud of in the end. Even though the detail was good, it's just boring.
Yeah.
Not interesting.
It's funny to think we're in the year 2018 and there's a lot of video stuff I'll work real hard on, and people are like, oh, wow, that's great. It's amazing. But then, like, Insta Story is a thing, and I'll throw something up for 15 seconds and people are like, wow, that's amazing. That's great. That's beautiful. And I really didn't put too much thought into 15 seconds, but I put a ton of thought into this 5-minute clip I just did.
Yeah.
And it's back to what you were saying about, like, you're more focused on, will this be hung on a wall, or will this be in a picture frame on a desk? And so my side of things is like software. I'm not picking on it. I love it. I still own it. I still use it sometimes just in case purposes. I still use Adobe Premiere Elements. And I don't even remember what model. That's how old it is. I remember spending $70 on a kit to get in Elements and Photoshop, and I don't even know. I think somewhere in my boxes I have old version of Photoshop. That'd be kind of fun to mess with. If you guys don't know, that Daniel hates old Photoshop, so that'd be a funny conversation to have with him. Well, not so much hates it, but he hates some of the old fonts and stuff and flares. So that's another story for another can of worms. But so software is, I was using that, and a lot of it was, I would have saved myself so much more headache if I just paid a subscription a month. I don't know. Maybe I could have saved time. Maybe quality would have been different. Maybe I would have saved maybe, I don't know. I'm just rambling, but think about, a subscription a month is you get this professional editing software suite. I can synchronize audio from a video in a recording device and sync it just by looking. But in Premiere, you just hit the sync button and it syncs. And I'm like, well, where was this?
It streamlined your process.
I wanted that kind of stuff. And so people would get the black bars to make it more movie quality. Well, Nate was going to find some PNG black photos and stretching it over and making it look like black bars. And Daniel joked with me one time about beat markers that you can put by tapping on the keyboard for transition of videos. And I was like, well, that sounds really cool, man, but I don't have that. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, you know how you can click on your keyboard? And he's like, yeah. I said, well, I use my cut tool. And he started laughing. That's literally the workaround. And I used to joke that I would have to go around the broke man's workaround, basically, because I would have to sit there. Daniel would be hitting, or other friends I have would be hitting a letter on the keyboard to put beat markers for transition of their videos. And Nate would be sitting there going, click, cut, okay. And then I would delete the audio and put it back. And so, things I wish I would have known is, investing in my software. I got to where I could just use elements and I was doing fine. But I think I started hitting a creative wall. And so when I made that jump, I was like, what was I thinking? I mean, I'm thankful, like, again, back to the whole
Right.
trial and error, but I'm so thankful that I have, Premiere Pro CC and I'm able to
Oh
do
yeah, definitely.
basically anything I want. Now, for those that are like, well, I don't have, Premiere like CC, is it called DaVinci Resolved? I think that stuff's free. I don't even know if I said the
Mm.
name right, but that stuff is like so much better. But yeah, I wish I would have known, or I slapped my hand saying, man, I wish I would have put the money into the software and still learn through elements. But then I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure you can relate with software that was free or paid or whatever. But
Right. I mean, I'm sure Elements was a good starting point for you, and that kind of forced you to think more creatively when trying to solve some editing problems. So now that you upgraded, I mean, you can fully appreciate like how much it just streamlines your workflow. So
yeah.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
Well, like
to
I'm
get
glad
started.
I'm glad where I came from, basically. But when you get there, you're like, oh, what was I doing? But like you have so
Oh,
much
yeah.
knowledge that you bring to the table now.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm sure. Yeah, you've been like, man, why didn't I get this like 2 years ago or a
Yeah.
year ago or whatever? So
That's exactly how that moment was. I opened it and I was like, I don't understand any of these buttons. And then I was like, oh, well, I understand that. So,
yeah,
for those that don't have the capability of paying for a monthly service, there are other services out there. And don't let it just be the one kind of thing where you're just like, well, I don't have it, so I can't do it.
yeah.
Like I did it through Elements. I think I had version 7, 6, 10. I don't even
wow.
like, I'm talking like old basic, probably a step above like that, like Windows editor or whatever.
Oh gosh.
Maybe more. I don't know, but I don't know. So like when it comes to creativity, don't let that be a barrier. And there is like I said, we're in 2018. Stuff is way more, like way better than it used to be, like with
Yeah.
DaVinci and stuff like that.
Yeah, we actually did an episode about our favorite freewares. So if there's anybody out there that wants to get started in the creative field, but they don't have the money for Photoshop or any like Adobe products, feel free to check out that episode because we mentioned a lot of good alternatives in that one.
We all three of us, Daniel, me and Angela, went into some pretty deep detail about some freeware out there. Basically workarounds for those that are just getting started, those that really don't have a budget, or really people that don't want to really throw money at something. There's a lot of free stuff now that are like, wow, like where was this when I needed it,
Yeah, and for me, I think another thing that I wish I knew sooner was to study realism more in artwork because okay, so I got my start in drawing as most kids do, drawing cartoons and such, and then I hit an anime phase about when I was 10 years old, and I basically drew in that style for years, especially like the Dragon Ball Z style. I was all about drawing bunch of different comics in that style, and I didn't really study anything else.
Yeah.
There were attempts. I have a few drawings actually that I still have of me attempting to do a little bit of realism. I was like about 13 or so, and when you transition from working in an anime style into realism, the results are usually quite scary. Like, okay, anime people, their eyes are humongous. Usually, and yeah, I remember doing a portrait of myself, and my eyes were about 4 times way too big.
Oh boy.
And it looked terrifying. I looked like a very creepy bug lady. So that was fun. I didn't really start studying realism until I was about maybe 15 at the earliest. And even then that was early start. Like I still have a portrait of myself that I drew, and I look about 50 years old. So that wasn't good. So I think I would kind of wish I would have studied realism more when I was in middle school. And even if it's like not the kind of field that you want to stick to drawing in, even if you want to just do cartoon work primarily, drawing in realism and learning other fundamentals about drawing, such as perspective and realistic lighting and coloring, etc., that will help your cartoon work so much more because it really does help to know the rules so you can break them.
Yeah, it definitely expands your creativity also. So you can be like, oh, well, I know how to do that over here, so piece of cake,
Yeah, for sure. So mine's quite simple, but starting realism as soon as you can and drawing in that style and drawing models and learning anatomy and proportions as soon as possible will help your art immensely, no matter what style you're working in my opinion. And that's pretty much all I draw in now, surprisingly. I always thought that I would be like this major cartoon buff growing up because that's all I was focused on and what I really liked. Now I'm into drawing portraits and stuff such of people, so it's funny how things work out, huh?
It's just kind of a tool in your bat belt. Now somebody comes knocking at your door and you're like, we need you to be a cartoon creator. You can do that. I mean, we need you to be a realist drawer of real human beings. You can do that.
Yeah, and it's so funny because a lot of people don't expect me to be able to draw in cartoon styles very well nowadays. And it always blows my mind. They're like, oh man, I mean, you're good at realism, but I could probably do cartoon work better than you. I'm like, I need to show you the stuff that I used to do because it used to be a completely different story. And so, I mean, it's kind of nice that I can kind of go back and forth nowadays. Yeah. So.
And then that's when you grab the paper and the pencil. And you're like, Art Wars, go! Like,
yeah.
So that'd be funny.
Like, that actually
would be funny to have like a segment or something that you could run where it's called Art Wars, and you find all your art friends and have battles, and let people vote, not you and the person. But that'd be kind of funny. So
hey Daniel.
Yeah. Oh snap!
Let's do that.
He's not here to defend himself. So you just.
I know. He's gotta answer me in the next episode.
How dare you call him out on a war when he's already out,
He's already fighting a war with the aliens.
Saying,
you're right. Come on, what kind of jerk am I?
Exactly. So you
totally blindsided
declare
him
more
here.
war, so he doesn't get to come home and rest. So now he's from alien war to art war. Let the dude have a break.
Yeah. I'm sorry. That's not cool of me. I apologize.
We're talking about realism, and I think my next one I wish I would have known was the realism that gear is not all it cracks up to be. And you're like, wait, what? Hold on. Yeah, it does, Nate. Gear is where it's at. And you're right. I would get so fixated on gear. I'm like, oh, that camera looks like this. And, oh, that camera shoots in a high megapixel. Oh, that camera can film in blah, blah, blah time. And when it's filming. And, oh, that one has presets built into it. And, that glass is like amazing. If I didn't ever have that glass, I'm not a good, videographer, photographer.
You're a sham if you don't have this piece of tech.
Yeah. It's funny that I think about it. I can't believe I was even like that because that's not true. Most people say 80 to 90% of it is human and 10 to 20% of it is, gear. And I don't know why I would get so fixated on, I got to have the new gear. I love high quality gear tech. It doesn't even if it's not video or photo related, if it's gaming related, but I don't know. But in the field that I work in, it's at least 80 to 90% human, and then the other one is 10 to 20% gear.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure like even most clients are just mainly concerned that as long as the picture's clear and sharp, I mean, the colors are nice. That's basically it that they're looking out for, I think. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I
could be wrong. But
I'm sure I'm wrong too for saying some of this. I remember a couple of years ago, a couple of friends of mine would get gear and they were just starting off. Maybe they were just newbies and like they had the understanding of some photo and some video. And they would have a $2,000 body and $1,000 piece of lens, and they, it looked like they were professionals. I'm like, no, that's not fair. I worked my butt off since I was 12, and then you just started 6 months ago, and then you're getting the same quality I'm getting because you have a $3,300 camera set or more, and I'm like, that's not fair. And then, oh boy, it was nothing more unfair than I finally got a stabilizer, a Ronin M, and I love that thing. That thing's awesome. And then they started more and more mirrorless cameras. And for those that mirrorless is digital, and then you have the mirrored, which is the mirror that flips around inside the camera. They started doing in-body stabilization, especially in some of the more newer models of cameras.
Oh man!
And so back to a friend of mine, he had the top line stuff and the top line lens, and I think he had a little itty bitty monopod on it, and I went walking around with it, and it looked almost as good as if I had a stabilizer. And I was like, that's cheating, dude. Like, I work so hard with the stabilizer, and I've saved all my pennies, and you buy one camera, and you're basically doing my job. And so I was just, I don't know. But thinking about it and actually being real with it, I actually was in a position where I was working with people and people were asking for advice. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I'm over here so worried about gear and the next thing that then people are asking me for advice. And I'm like, oh, don't worry about it, man. You got what you got because at this stage and it's going to work out. I don't know. I was being two-faced. Like I was like, you got it, man. And then I'm like, I need the next thing. And like, you got it, dude. And so
Yeah.
I would get so worked up about gear. And now I think about, gear is a help. It's a tool and it helps you out so much. In all reality, about 80-90% of it is human.
Yep, I totally agree. And I can go through the same exact thing with my art field. Getting like the latest tablets, the latest digital art software, paints, etc.
Yeah.
But all that really doesn't matter as much as...
It's amazing, like, cause how we can get so fixated on having the latest and greatest when if you would just more invest in you as a person. Like if I would just invest in the human part of thing, I think when somebody hands me a $4,000 camera kit, I'm blowing it out of the water because I already know how to use it. A lot of it when I was younger, I started off with high-end gear because I was doing live broadcasts and events and stuff. And then when it came to my personal stuff, I knew stuff, but I actually felt like I was getting more fixated on the gear. And I realized I needed to invest in myself. 80 to 90% of the human is how the product shows up. And so I would take workshops and YouTube University, as we all say, and trial and error and take photos of friends and videos of friends and force myself to be creative. And that's why I'm thankful for like platforms like Instagram, is because we have the 15-second video and once it's up for 24 hours and then it's gone. So you can save it, it's on my hard drive at home, but you can save it as a highlight on your profile, or when it's gone and you were creative for 24 hours to whoever saw it.
No, I totally agree. Yeah. It's very important. I mean, what do you think are mainly like the human aspects of videography that people can improve on, so like composition and
I think if you're jumping
people
into video, you should go learn photography, because video is moving picture. And if you can understand photo, you can understand video. And people are like, well, I agree to disagree. And that's fine. But for me, it worked out a lot when I would go learn photo. It was like a huge jump for my video stuff when I started understanding.
I can understand that.
I think really just invest in like the math and shutter speed, frames per second, ISO, f-stop, like that. That's not hard, but for somebody that's learning, it sounds kind of scary.
Yeah, it's best to start simple, and then once you kind of master your craft, like with doing the simple stuff, then you can kind of work your way up and know what you're doing and what you need, basically. And I can kind of say that I've gone through something similar with my art, not much like in like the tools aspect, but more so focusing too much on the details rather than making sure that foundations of a drawing are solid.
Yeah.
Have you ever like looked at those how to draw books and like they sell for kids?
Yeah.
Like they start off with drawing a figure, basically starting out with basic circles and ovals.
Like stick figures and like draw an oval and then draw a line down the face, and then that's where the nose is going.
Very simple shapes and lines to get you started. And that is really how you need to start out drawing, and not just start out drawing, okay, I'm going to draw the face in full detail and then the body, etc. I used to do that as a kid. When I would follow those how to draw books, I would just skip all the other steps. Like, I don't want to draw the circles and shapes and to connect them and whatever. I never liked that. I would just straight up copy the final drawing and call it a day. I know.
You wanted to make a difference. You didn't want to take the steps to get there.
I did not. I just saw it as pointless. Like, I can copy the final drawing just fine. I don't need to do all the other steps beforehand. But it is so much more helpful if you can plan out a drawing and get its proportions correct before you start out drawing in all the details first. And I did that for so long. I don't think I got out of that habit until I was about 15, 16.
It's a long time.
I know. I would draw comics and such, and I would always draw out like characters and such in full detail starting out, and I would always frame them horribly in the panels as a result, because I didn't plan out exactly beforehand roughly how everything should be framed. And I remember around 16 when I finally started, drawing out the basic shapes of people's bodies and stuff in the panels before I started adding detail, that I'm like, oh man, everybody's framed so beautifully. Why didn't I do this before? So I would have saved myself so many headaches and had so much more pleasing artwork to begin with if I had just started out simple first. And that's kind of even for realism, just doing basic drawings, it really helps to start out with simple geometry, because all like living things and still life can all be deconstructed down to basic, simple, like squares, cubes, spheres, etc. So, in those how to draw books where they have you practice drawing spheres and cubes, etc. And nobody's like, oh man, we know this. It's so boring. It's very essential to know how to draw those and shade different shapes correctly in different lighting, because it really does help when drawing more complex figures.
Yeah. Keep it simple.
So yeah, that's something I wish I had gotten into so much sooner, because it would have helped a lot.
Back to the whole phrase that I love, keep it simple.
Exactly. Keep it simple, stupid. That's such a good phrase in life. As human beings try to overcomplicate things or jump to the end result too quickly.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I remember seeing those drawing books when I was little. I was like, yeah, that's a lot of steps to get something that basic. And then I was like, oh, well, I really wish I would have. And I remember there was a couple art classes I took when I was younger. I'm talking like way young. And then she was like, as a group, we were talking about, the steps. And I was like, oh, no. I have to listen to this for 45 minutes when I'm at home. And I'm like, yeah, I don't have to do it. And then in art class, they're like, okay, so now we're doing the shading and shaping. And I'm like, no. And the stick figures. I'm like, no.
I know. It's such a shame when some people are turned off by going to art classes, because that's usually how they start you off with. It's just the simple shapes. And they're like, no, I want to get to the good stuff. I'm like, you can't get to the good stuff until you learn those. Sadly, that's the truth. And you just got to power through it and stick to it, and it will all work out for the better. Just trust me on that.
Well, a lot of it's muscle memory. And so those shapes and lines and circles you have to go through to be able to get to the next step and the next step and the next step.
Exactly. So, that's why you see like people, when they instruct people on how to draw circles and stuff, they have them fill up pages and pages and pages of them practicing to draw circles like perfectly in like one go. And it takes thousands of those to be able to draw like a circle perfectly in one shot.
Yeah.
So when you envy an artist and you can say, hey, they can draw a perfect circle so quickly. Like, there's thousands of circles they drew before that to get to that point.
Yeah.
So it's just basically a lot of work and muscle memory, repetition, etc.
And what's crazy is we live in a generation that social media is like everywhere, of course. And people are like, oh, I love that artwork. I want to be like that. I'm never going to be like that. Or I love that photo and I want to take photos like that. I've never, those steps that we're talking about. You take those steps, you go through it, you trial and error, and you'll figure it out. You'll finally actually get to the, you're like, yes, I'm an artist, photographer, videographer, whatever, whatever you want to call yourself. Just because we talk about video, photo, and art doesn't mean that's all we're talking about. That's our fields. That's what we're comfortable talking about. That's what we do on a day-to-day basis. Speaking of people, my transition, my segue.
Speaking of people,
Got Canadian. I'm sorry.
Why do I keep sounding Canadian? I don't know what
Canadians
it is.
Go,
I keep doing it.
Well, how about that, eh? Or isn't that special, eh?
That's an awful stereotype.
Look, you're offending all the Canadians here, okay?
I'm not meaning.
Her name is Angela Brock, and she lives in Kentucky. You can find her, okay? You're offending all the Canadians. They're going to hit you with their hockey sticks.
I'm closer to Canada than you are. Maybe that's what it is.
Maybe, but they're going to hit you with all their hockey sticks. And they're going to be very polite about it.
Are they going to drench me in maple syrup too while we go on in this stereotypical rant?
That's messed up. Okay, we need not to talk about Canadians anymore. We're sorry.
Yeah,
we love you.
I'm sorry. We love you, Canadians.
But we know you won't get mad about it because you're polite.
Oh my gosh.
But with people, like I said, business related. Oh man, when I started, I did not want anything to do with like sharing on the load of like work. And you're like, what do you mean? Networking. Oh my goodness gracious. It's amazing like how much exposure you can do by networking. And Daniel and I talk a lot about that. It's like exposure, not so much to fame, but like word of mouth. And that person knows that. And Daniel and I have gone back and forth like conversations. And I'm sure you have picked up some clients like, hey, I saw you draw somebody's picture. I want that. And Daniel and I have done video and photo work, and people are like, oh man, I love those photos. And we need that in our life. And so they would hire. And so it's crazy.
Oh yeah. Networking is super important no matter what profession you're in, I believe.
Networking is kind of like a whole bunch of different ways. Networking to meet people who's in your industry, networking to find more creatives, networking to find help so you have basically more people to share the load. Like what I was saying at the beginning, is sharing the load of a project I'm doing, I need an assistant or I need somebody to help or somebody to edit. And just knowing those people, just because you
Yeah.
network, it saves you so much time than going on an awkward limb and posting on Craigslist or Facebook or something and finding some random people you don't know. Because networking, you actually go shake
Right.
hands. And I mean, that's how Daniel and I met. We met through a mutual friend. And now here we are 3, 4, 5
Yeah.
plus years later. And it's like we've known each other our whole life. We joke about stuff. And I'd go out and introduce myself, go to conventions. I mean, there was things I didn't really care about the florist, but I went and introduced myself because I knew I was going to see her probably at a wedding, or I didn't really care about cakes, even though they're yummy. I've had enough wedding cakes in my life that I'm good. I think until the day I get married, I don't need any more wedding cakes. But, I would go introduce myself. And what's crazy is, the lady, I think she's an officiant. I met her and she actually went to my church and we hit it off and I started a business and she had known me before the business. And that's actually, like I just said, that's how I met Daniel. She met Daniel through a wedding event and knew him and they became friends and then we were friends and so she connected us and it's been awesome ever since. And it's awkward to network. I'm not really, now I am, but at first I didn't want to go say hi to people. Like, who are you? And
Yeah.
I don't want to be social. Who wants to be social?
Yeah.
And
I know, right?
a lot of it was awkward walking up to people. But like, hey, my name's Nathan Gunn. I'm lived in San Antonio. I'm a videographer. What do you do? I love your booth when I'm at a convention. Like, explain what is all this stuff and like be super into what they're into. And then it pays off in the long run, to have those friends
Yeah.
that you made at conventions or, oh, hey, I remember you. You're like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah,
It's been
yeah.
months. And so, in any industry, craft, hobby that you're building, get to know people that are in the same field. Maybe not even the same thing you're doing, just the creativity stuff. Like Angela and I are
Yeah.
totally different people, but we can relate because we're creativity people. Like we like creating stuff. Daniel and
Yeah.
I are similar
Yeah,
in some
totally.
ways. He's photo, I'm video. He can do video, I can do photo, but we can also have other
Mhm.
things that, we're both creative people and we can
Yeah,
connect.
exactly.
And if you can just
Yeah.
get out of your comfort zone and just go talk to people like, hi, I'm so and so. I do this. I
Yeah.
make flower kites, flags for weddings. I don't know. And watch it become a thing. A flower kite
I make
flag.
flower cakes.
And that sounds weird, but who else is doing that?
that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, like, I make art with stuff like pencil shavings.
Pencils.
And,
Pencil shavings.
and-
That'd be impressive.
I don't know. I take photos of cosplayers like we've been talking a lot about Daniel because we're all in the same field and we all do the same stuff. And I'm sure if he was here,
Yeah.
he would have a lot to contribute to this.
So there's a lot of bleed through in our group. Like we kind of all are in like different things, similar things. Like Daniel and I are both into art, and I'm into video as well a little bit, so I can kind of relate to what you got going on sometimes.
Yeah. And
Not
Daniel's
exactly
in a video.
cinematographer kind of, but I like editing a lot.
Daniel's an editor,
So we
you're
can
an
kinda-
editor, I edit. Daniel's in a
Yeah.
video, you're in a video, I'm in a video. So we all kind of bleed through, and that's right. We
Yeah.
do. Get out there. Yeah. It's awkward talking to people. Like I said, I stumble across my words when I talk in front of people. Like I'm like, how awkward is
That's
that?
my biggest problem in life.
And so, like, just network. It's redundant.
Yeah, that's always been intimidating for me.
One thing I can tell you about networking, one thing I wish I would have known is to network a little bit better. You're like, well, what are you talking about, Nate? For listeners out there, when I would introduce myself as, hi, I'm Nathan Gunn. I live here. I do this. But I never took
Yeah.
into the accountability of like, that's an interview right there. That's a potential bridge right there for business. That's a potential friendship of word of mouth. That's a potential XYZ to a situation that might
That's a
be.
good point.
And so think of it like networking is also not only making a friendship, but it's also kind of like an interviewing. You're interviewing each other.
Yeah, no pressure though.
No,
but
no.
yeah,
I mean,
you're
don't
right.
put pressure on yourself, but think about that. Like how you present yourself, how you dress, how you communicate with this person. Are you the same person they met when they meet 6 months later? That kind of stuff. Don't be somebody
Yeah.
you're not, because 6 months later it might be hard for you to
Yeah.
remember who you were. And you're like, So, yeah, I mean, that's.
Yeah. Be yourself, but conduct yourself in a professional manner pretty much almost always when you're meeting new people.
Just be you, be original, like all that fun stuff. Just be you. It's easier to be you than something you're not.
Hey, that kind of segues into my last topic here. See, I've always kind of wanted to be more original in my artwork throughout the years, and even today is still something I really struggle with because I've been primarily into fan art for most of my life.
Yeah.
And a lot of the artwork that I make is fan art. It's graphite portraits of different characters and such.
Wow.
So while that's cool, it feels like essentially I'm looking at a picture of a person and just copying it, even if it's in black and white. So to me, it's kind of left a really big creative itch.
Yeah.
That I don't really scratch that often, and I would like to. And that's kind of why in recent years, admittedly, I've kind of felt like a little bit in a rut, and I just got to figure out how to do a more original style or do something different. Like maybe even if like creating original content like outside of different fandoms. That's cool and all, but even just like if I draw a portrait of a person, I want to think of a way to spice it up, not make it look like just a photograph, which is the style of artwork that I've been doing for a while. And I kind of got in that spot where I've been stuck in that because I'm kind of good at it. I don't mean to sound like I'm bragging at all, but I've been told by people, man, your art looks like a photograph. I'm like, oh, wow, they like this stuff. I feel like I should stick to it because I guess I'm good at it. But it's just left me feeling like this creative want almost. So if there's a way that I can do portraits and make it look more artistically pleasing, like maybe make it a looser style, or if I switch over to colors, maybe make the colors a little crazy and not like something you'd see in real life. That's something I wish I have practiced a lot sooner, and it's something I still have to try to this day and find something that fits me and something that gives me like a more sense of fulfillment when I finish a piece. And
yeah, no, that makes total sense. And you're not lying. Like your art is good. A couple years ago, I know you cringe at this moment every time we talk about it, but when you were on the like local news in your city, I remember like reading comments. I think you posted on your Facebook, and I think I was like, "You're on the news." You're like, "Oh no."
Yeah, that was interesting because they told me they interviewed me at a local Comic-Con here in my city of Louisville, Kentucky, and they told me to just act natural, like I would just keep working, don't really bother to look up at the camera or anything. So I'm like answering the interviewer's questions, and I'm just like working, drawing, keeping my head down, and I'm watching it back. I'm like, oh man, that looks so awkward. Like I'm trying to avoid looking at the camera, and I would have naturally if they hadn't told me just be natural, just keep working and such. So that's mainly why I cringe.
Yeah, well, I mean, like you were saying that you're good at like the copy. Basically, I just call it copy and paste artwork, but I know it's not that. They were saying that if you want real life photos, here at the Louisville, Kentucky Comic-Con, check out the booth of Angela Brock. And that's how they were introducing you as it's not so, I know that you would want to be more original, but you kind of found your niche at that convention of taking like real stuff and putting it in like paper and pencil form.
Yeah. I mean, at a Comic-Con, you don't really see people doing stuff like that, like portraits of people and such, and more realism style and in graphite, no less. So that's helped me stand out at these conventions a lot. And I just felt like, okay, well, I'm good at this. It gets people's attention, so I should just keep at this. But it's been making me feel like really drained, honestly, to not like branch out from that.
Yeah, I mean, who's not drained for being creative in some way? Even though it's like I'm joking when I say this, and nobody needs to be getting offended, but like copy and paste, it looks the same. But I mean, even though it drains you, but it gave you opportunities to work at more conventions, and like for a short while you were able to work at like a comic book store. Like just because even though that's your creativity, it may not be your niche anymore. It's like, it was trial and error, and it led to so many opportunities,
Oh yeah. Like I definitely don't regret like getting into the style of art because it's given me opportunities that I wouldn't have had otherwise, and learning how to draw people realistically and learn how to draw like different details for different things, like being able to draw photorealistic hair and different clothing materials. I mean, that's good skills to have, but it doesn't necessarily mean I should always strive to that level of detail all the time.
Yeah, trust me, I find things like that all the time. I'm like, man, like this is really good and I'm good at it, I think, but I need to be more original of my stuff. And it's kind of hard. Like it's like a self-evaluation. You're like, well, what is me and what's like a copy and paste. Oh boy. And so
Yeah.
yeah, trust me, I run into that same type of issue where I'm like, okay, is that look my look, or is that somebody else's look, or do I just really
Right,
like that look and
exactly.
it's bleeding through into my creativity? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like a bad thing to be influenced by others' art
Yeah,
styles
no,
because we're
definitely
all
not.
we're all influenced by others as long as you're not straight up like 100% copying what they do.
Hmm.
But I want to throw out there too that I think that maybe I've always like stuck in like the fan arty niche and drawing people's portraits, because whenever I try to do anything like more original, it may look decent, but it never really like matches the quality of whenever I
Yeah.
just draw people's portraits and such. So I feel like there's a pressure on me to try to keep original stuff to look as good as the fan arty things and things that I basically rely
Yeah.
on reference for. It makes the transition to be more original very difficult.
Yeah.
And I know it's just something I got to practice and get over.
Yeah.
It's still difficult, but it's something that I've wished that I got into sooner, so that way it wouldn't be, I guess, as much of a struggle nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to what we were saying at the beginning, trial and error, basically. But,
Yeah.
you know, what's crazy is like you drawing the guy from The Walking Dead or Doctor Who or whoever. And then like I have seen some of like your more original stuff. I can see that you're like, oh, like I love it, but like it's not like what I did over here when I draw like Loki and Thor
Yeah.
facing off with each other. Like this is me, and that's actual like I say it again, copy and paste, and it's my artwork, but it's not original, and it's kind of weird because like people are like, oh, well, that's your original, and you're like, yeah, like you love it, and they're like, well, what happened to the drawing you did over there with like Doctor Who or Walking Dead or Thor and Loki or whoever? They're like, yeah, no, that was that kind of artwork. This is mine, and they're like, oh, cool, well. So yeah, I definitely
Yeah.
understand the creativity like hit having to compare your originality with real life stuff that actually you just copied from or used as references that have already
Use
been
as reference,
like you're using
yeah.
somebody else's originality.
I mean, there were times definitely when I draw like, people's portraits, I'll change up something. Like maybe the facial expression will be different. So it's not completely 100% copy paste like all the time.
Yeah.
Because that would just be
No,
awful.
yeah.
Still striving for something definitely different, to do something more original for sure.
Yeah, no, that's hard. It's hard to be original when you're influenced by so much.
Struggle's real, people. Struggle's real.
Yeah. Well, I can't think of a better place to end the episode, guys. This was a good one. The things we wish we knew. We wish we knew everything. And I'm sure in the future we'll be like, oh man, I wish I would have known that. And then we'll reflect and be like, oh, the things we wish we knew. But hey guys, early in the podcast, we talked about doing an episode about freeware. You guys should definitely check that one out. We went in some in-depth conversation about freeware. And if you're like, guys, I'm really not into the whole software stuff, don't worry. We're the Visionary Variety Podcast. We got you. Last episode, we did a movie review on the 1998 Lost in Space. Now, that was fun. Pros and cons of a conversation. It was a lot of hands on deck, a lot of extra help. It was all over the place, but it was a lot of fun. So, guys, if you haven't already, you should consider subscribing. We are on multiple social media platforms such as iTunes, Google Play, Facebook, YouTube, and many more. And we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, guys, feel free to reach out to us. Let us know what kind of things that you wish you knew when you were starting out in your respective professions. You can leave us a comment on any of our social media platforms like Nate's listed, or you can also leave us an email at tvvpodcast@gmail.com.
Oh, yeah, we would love to hear from you. Well, until the next episode, you guys have a good one. And remember, keep being awesome.
Hey guys, it's Daniel. Still fighting off the hive mind in the beta sector. Sorry I couldn't make it this week. But I think we're gonna make it out. Our mechs just got online. I've got one jump core left. I plan on using it to get back to Earth just in time for next week's episode. Thanks guys for holding it down. Miss you. We'll see you soon. Look out! Go, go, go!